Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us again. I'm Karen, this is JoJo, and I called you JoJo actually.
Oh, yay!
Yay!
It only took 100 takes. Yay,
Yeah.
love it.
Cool. So today we're going to talk to you about, our title is You Can Do Hard Things, God Does the Impossible Things. And I think this is just a reassuring episode where we do have him working with us in our lives.
Yes.
And no matter what, we can get there. And one of our base scriptures for today is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I think that one's really important, but we can't always wear that scripture right away because we don't know how that works until we get into living life with Jesus. Until we get used to the practicality of just living life
Yeah.
with him in our life,
Yeah.
we don't realize what is hard and then becomes impossible.
Yeah.
But then when you get used to it, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad he was there.
Yeah.
And you do everything you can. So kick it off for us. What do you have on your life that you recall was a hard thing to do?
I just this episode, the title to this episode, and like the reasoning behind this episode for me is, I think today's culture is just such a convenience culture that like if something isn't convenient, we have this thing where we say it's not meant to be, and I
So
just
true.
hate that.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not true, and I think we find ourselves quitting before we even try because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's not that it's not meant to be, it's just hard and you have to apply yourself a little more. And we're really just not used to doing that nowadays. We've got the internet, we've got microwaves, we've got like, my car can drive itself. There's no reason, you know what I
So
mean?
true. Yep.
Like there's just no reason for me to put any effort into it. And so the slightest inconvenience or the slightest bit of me having to do a little bit of hard work, I find myself not wanting to do it.
Or we misinterpret it to being a no.
Right.
When it really wasn't, you just have to work harder, like you said.
Yeah.
Sometimes we interpret it as a no.
Sometimes
because it wasn't easy.
And just metaphorically speaking, literally before coming here, I was working a wedding and we're leaving the location that we're prepping everyone in, and I'm behind a girl who's stuck at the door. And I'm like, girl, what are you doing? And she's like, the door's locked. And I'm like, no. And she goes, yeah, it's locked. And I said, no, you just have to push a little harder.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
So she turns the knob, and sure enough, she just had to push the door a little harder. And here's the thing. When you walk into some of these homes I've walked into, sometimes the door's way different. Doors are not just one size fits all. And so the weight of this specific door required for her to just push a little harder.
Yeah.
So the door wasn't locked, it just was a little harder to push. So it's a metaphor, and I'm trying to give you a metaphor, but I'm also not. Like, sometimes in your life, some doors that you have to walk through are a little harder to push. That doesn't mean that they're locked. It doesn't mean that they're not gonna open.
Yeah.
You just have to push a little harder. And for me, I was literally in the gym working out, and my gym, I have a home gym. And fitness to me is like therapeutic. I just need it. Mental health wise and physical health wise, I've just realized that in order for me to have clarity, in order for me to just let go of some, like as an outlet, fitness is very important to me. And there are some moves that are just so uncomfortable for me to do. They're just really uncomfortable. I don't like them. Bulgarian split squats, just to like throw one out there. They're terrible, but they're so good for you. I just don't like to do them because they're hard, you know? And I was sharing this with a coworker, and I remember he was telling me that he has his niece who's 5 years old. And his niece was throwing a fit on the floor one day, and she's like, I can't do it, it's hard. And he squatted down in front of her, and he says, honey, you can do hard things. We just want to stop because it's hard. You know, and I don't want this to be a generation of people that is this shy of fulfilling God's call for their life, or like this shy of actually checking off a goal or like doing something that you've always wanted to do your entire life, or breaking generational curses because you have an opportunity that's presented to you, but you stop yourself because it's hard. And there is a differentiation, because you were saying like, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I do believe that. And there are some things that are within our efforts, and there are some things that are like God things, right? Like, share an experience in your life where you've had to overcome something.
Well, mine goes back to a financial aspect. So I got myself into a problem, which was $1 million in debt. Not proud of it at all.
She says that. I've never had to worry about $1 million debt. Have you? Please leave a comment down below, because I had to process that. Like, she said that one of the other podcasts, and I was editing the podcast, and Leon heard it, and he was like, Karen's had $1 million, and I was like, yeah.
No, let's clarify. I never had $1 million. I was $1 million in debt.
$1 million is somehow you had it, whether it was collectively or it just built up in your possession some way. Like, he's like, how is she even talking about $1 million at all? And I'm like, I don't know, but I sure would like to hear.
It's tough. A lot of bad decisions, a lot of extended credit, a lot of wrong decisions. It was bad. A lot of bad stuff. But to the point, and I mentioned before, to the point where it was so bad that the IRS actually came in and closed down my business and took all of the assets, the inventory, the vehicles, everything. And so that's a tough thing to go through. And so I didn't see my way out of it. I couldn't do the impossible. I couldn't pay back $1 million. I was in up to my eyeballs with the IRS also. But the hard thing was facing it.
Yeah.
That was the hard thing. The thing I could do is not run away, which is an easy thing to do. But I had to have those really, really hard conversations, knowing that I'm not in the driver's seat. I'm subject to whatever somebody else says to me on financial. So the hard thing was dealing with each one of those things. But I called all of my creditors. I talked to them one-on-one. It took 10 years to get out of the whole thing. A lot of it was forgiveness of debt. Thank God, and I'm so thankful for that. Other pieces I was able to pay back, and I did the best I could. But during that struggle, and this is what I shared before, was I got to the point where I had no electricity, no anything. And I'm laying on the floor. The hard thing for me to do was to figure out what to do next. I did not know what to do next. And that's when I just said, Lord, I don't know what to do. And that's when he said, all you have to do is breathe. So I know I'm repeating the story, but it is a critical story for me to be able to explain. I was able to do the hard things, calling people. I literally breathed. But if it wasn't for the grace of God, and to me, if he's moving on someone else's heart to forgive me of some debt, that's still him working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it took about 10 years to get completely out from under. I always answer my phone. So when I had creditors calling me constantly, I answered my phone. I wanted to get out of it. So I didn't turn anybody away. I just told them what it was. I tried to do payment plans and things like that. The IRS, I had a payment plan. I mean, that's one you don't want to mess with. But after 10 years of that payment plan, then it was satisfied.
Yeah.
So that was the last one to get out of it. But I do believe that God really made a lot of forgiveness availability to me through that. And I was so thankful for that.
Yeah.
So
that's literally, I don't think I could have put into words more of that verse. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Like, that is really hard to do, to sit there and like face all of that, having to call everybody back, organize it. Like, not only does it suck that you have to like pay back $1 million, but like now you have to clean up your own mess too.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the times we think like, okay, I've made this mess, God's all powerful, clean it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not like the guy in the Fabuloso commercial that like comes in and just, cleans everything up for you. Like, you gotta clean up your mess.
You gotta
sometimes.
clean it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not pretty. It's not fun. It's not pretty. But if you're consistently applying towards that and you see these little goals of accomplishments,
Yeah.
and you know it's because Jesus is right there with you, and you successfully pay off one of the bills, even though they might have marked it down super low for you, and you actually, it's an accomplishment.
Yeah.
And he strengthened me to be able to do it.
Yes.
So,
And just talking about God being able to, or about us being able to do hard things and God being able to do the impossible, that brings us to trusting God for the impossible. And there's Matthew 19:26, which says, with man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. And so I want to kind of talk about a time where you witnessed or experienced God doing the impossible. I know you're currently believing God to help you with healing. And you talk about that. And I want to talk about, I'm going to let you talk. Well, that's so weird.
I'm going to talk.
Yeah.
She's going to let
Karen's
me
gonna
talk.
I'm going to listen. No. So Karen's believing for some hearing. Karen's believing.
She's believing for hearing.
Oh,
I'm
Lord.
believing for healing. No, I'm
Speaking
just
too while we're at it. Karen's believing God for some healing, which I love when she talks about this. And I've even heard her answer people when they're like, oh, how is this situation going? And she's very careful with how she responds to people. And I love that because there is so much power. Like, there is so much power in what you speak into existence. There's so much power in what you hear, what you believe, what you allow yourself to like sit with. And so your perspective is so important when it comes to faith and trusting God. So I do want her to talk about it, but tell us about what you're believing healing for and how you're doing it.
Okay. So back in about a year ago, close to a year ago now, I was admitted into the hospital in a DKA status. And Jovi, being a nurse, she knows what that is. It was funny. I didn't talk to you until like a couple of weeks after I got out of the hospital. And you're like, oh yeah, that's what this, da, 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 da. And she was telling me stuff I never even knew existed. So it was very cool to talk to her about it eventually. And, but I went into a DKA, which is related to diabetes. And they diagnosed me as a type 1 diabetic caused from autoimmune. Now, I fully believe, because everywhere in the Word it says that God heals. Nowhere does it say if He wills to heal. In fact, when people came up to Him in the Bible and said, hey, if you are willing, His response every single time is yes, yes, yes. He never once said no or let me think about it.
Yeah.
So either we grab hold of that and believe He truly does want to heal and He is the healer.
Yeah.
Or we don't.
Yeah.
I choose to believe the Word of God.
Yeah.
So I'm on insulin. I have an insulin pump, and that was a miracle in itself. This is kind of cool too. It's unusual. It's not impossible, but it's unusual, I was told, for someone who is diagnosed to quickly receive a pump.
That was so quick. I could not believe it.
Yeah.
I could not believe it. You're like, I'm getting like instructions and waiting for my insulin pump. I was like, what?
Yeah.
There are people that have to be on like a regimen that's failing or not working well for years.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I was told, don't be surprised if you don't get it for 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
So I just believe that to be the favor of God.
Yeah.
I just was so thankful for that. And it has made my life much easier. But my stance on it is I believe that I will be fully healed of diabetes. And my outlook is I don't look for the next stick test
Yeah.
to find out where my blood sugar is. I don't look for my next doctor's appointment that is 4 weeks away or 6 weeks away, whatever it is. I don't look for a specific thing to say, okay, this is going to tell me if I'm healed or not. And my response to this is, it doesn't matter to me when the timing is that my pancreas starts working again. I know it will. I'm waiting for my body to conform with the Word of God. That's what I'm waiting for. My body. I'm not waiting for God. He's already healed me. That's what he did when he died on the cross. Now, my explanation to it is, it doesn't matter to me if it's today, tomorrow, while I'm living and breathing here on this earth, or when I meet Jesus face to face, whether he comes back first or I die first.
Yeah.
I don't care. I am healed.
Yeah.
And if I see him face to face first, guess what? I've got my whole new body and it is healed.
Yeah.
So that's my stance.
Yeah.
My expectation is it'll happen sooner than later.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to crumble if I don't see it today.
Yeah, it doesn't have an expiration date. There
does
is no
not-
timeline.
no.
We're not putting a timestamp on it.
He's
And
either the healer or he's not.
And the other thing that I think is super important, because this example fits perfectly, and I don't know why I didn't think about this before, but this fits perfectly into today's title. I can do the hard things, God does the impossible. Here's why. You can live a lifestyle with an insulin pump, and you can quite literally eat whatever you want, have little to no physical activity, and this thing just shoots you whatever insulin dose you need, because you don't have to think about it, going back to convenience. However, does that behavior exemplify someone who believes God? Does that behavior exemplify someone who trusts God? 1. 2, furthermore, if I may prove my point, and this is just my thinking, it's not Karen, it's not biblical, but if I were seeing the fruits of someone's labor, not that God answers prayers this way, okay, that's not what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is, in Jovi 101, that's the last chapter after Revelations,
Oh, you're so funny.
why would I heal Karen's pancreas if I see that she's living a lifestyle that's gonna cause her to not only be sick anyways, but what would Karen look like living a terrible lifestyle and then going to Jesus and being like, God, please heal me? That doesn't make sense to me. Do you know what I mean? If she's living her life and doing the hard things, watching what she eats, making sure that she's active, she's following up with her doctors, she's doing the insulin, she's measuring herself, those are hard things. Being a diabetic is not easy by any means. I think it is one of the most, it is one of the illnesses where patients are non-compliant with it, or they don't really follow up with it because it is so hard. Because they have to watch what they eat. They have to go to doctor's appointments. There's lab work involved. There are so many external factors that don't have anything to do with the disease themselves. They're just lifestyle choices that you're making. So it is very much a lifestyle thing. Those are all very hard things, but she's still believing God to do the impossible, which is type 1 diabetes is not something that is reversible.
That's what they say.
That's what they say. You see what I'm saying?
That's what they say.
You see what I'm saying?
I don't believe it.
Do you see what I'm saying? That's so important. And I'm not saying it to contradict. I'm in agreement with her 100%.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you why the way that she's approaching this is so important. Because what they say is that it is not curable. It is not reversible. It is something that she's going to die with. However, her actions, her belief, the way she speaks, how she does, how she lives her life, talks totally opposite of what the world is conforming us to do, and is totally in agreement with what the Bible is asking us to do.
Well, and there's also challenges with it too, because since, it's been about 10 months now, and there have been times when my sugar was completely out of whack since then, and I was struggling to get it back in whack with the pump even. And I'm fanatical on statistics. I think statistics, the information that I'm getting is helping me know, am I sleeping enough? Am I disciplined enough in the things that I need to do for myself? I'm doing the hard things.
Yeah.
Am I disciplined enough to do that, to put me in a position where my pancreas will start working?
Yeah.
Yes, Jesus can come and snap his finger, but I think if we only live with that perspective of healing, we have missed the true perspective of healing.
Yes.
Because many people, I think, he just has to snap a finger and you're healed.
Yeah.
I believe that we have a lot of resources. We have incredible doctors that are Christians that come up with incredible solutions. We have our own bodies that were designed incredibly to heal itself.
Yeah.
And I do think that we share responsibility in doing the things what you were saying earlier. We share responsibility where we need to follow directions and do what we're supposed to do. We need to be disciplined in our own actions.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned how, the willingness of God. It's not about the willingness of God. We know that he's willing.
Yeah.
Another thing that you can kind of correlate with those instances in the Bible is, for example, whenever he healed the crippled man that was laying by the pool of Bethesda, what did he ask the man to do?
Well, why are you still here?
Yeah, he said, like, get up.
Get up.
And pick up your mat.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, yes.
Get up, pick up your mat, and go.
Yeah.
Those are action words. The man was healed. Jesus had already healed him, but there was that moment from like him experiencing his healing and Jesus saying those words. Like Jesus, the moment he showed up, I'm absolutely certain that man was healed. But there was a moment in like him saying those words and the man actually believing and processing it. There's that moment where you're like, you got to get up. Mm-hmm. Could that man have said, no. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm lame.
Yeah.
I have been for years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he could have, but he didn't. So there was that moment of like, okay, is this guy going to actually believe what is being said to him, and is he going to take action on that? The other one is the leper who had to go into the ocean and wash himself.
Yep.
So you see a lot of correlation in the Bible with healing and actually believing what is being said to you.
And action.
And action.
And action.
Yes, that was my point. And action.
Mm-hmm.
So there wasn't a lack of action. There wasn't a lack of belief. It's not like Jesus, again, I firmly believe the moment Jesus steps foot into a situation, there is no way that it could be the same ever again.
Right.
And there are plenty of miracles where like he didn't even have to be in the room. He just spoke the words and it was done. Mm-hmm. But there are also a lot of miracles where it shows him being involved, faith, but also action.
Yeah. Well,
following instruction and direction, like you were saying.
Yeah. And a lot of times it was, remember the woman with the issue of blood?
Yeah.
He said, who touched me? So just to let you guys know, this lady who had an issue of blood, she was bleeding all the time. She knew she would be healed by Jesus, and if she could just touch the hem of his garment.
Yeah.
Okay, so fast forward to her getting there, she touches the hem of his garment, and he said, who touched me? Because her faith actually made her whole. So that's how important faith is in doing the hard things and letting God do the impossible.
And not getting discouraged, like Karen was saying, not setting an expiration date, not setting a time stamp on things. That's where we go wrong. When we try to tell God when to do things, we're almost telling him how to. We think we're sneaky.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to say we're telling God what to do.
And how to do it.
Or how to do it. But we want to tell him when to do it. And that's kind of the same thing. So in this next section, I kind of want to share with you guys some practical things that you can do. There's a list that we have here of them, 4 things that you can kind of do to help yourself do the hard things while also believing that God can do the impossible things. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna relate them back to Karen because it is the perfect example. The first one is set realistic goals. Break down big challenges into smaller, manageable tasks and celebrate small victories along the way. So for example, in her journey of healing for the diabetes, she's watching what she eats, she's keeping track of her blood sugar, going to the doctor's office, and we're celebrating small wins. Like, hey, my sugar has been under control for however many days or however many weeks, or my lab work is going in the right direction. Even though it's not an immediate healing for her and it's not a snap of a finger, that is a huge deal and that should be celebrated.
It's praiseworthy.
Yes.
It is praiseworthy.
It is, because not to scare you guys or overwhelm you or get too medical on you, but I don't know if you knew diabetes could take you out. Okay, it can go into multi-organ failure.
Yeah.
If not managed properly or if not taken seriously. So, I mean, come on. The fact that your numbers are getting better, the fact that you have access to a pump within days of being diagnosed and not months, that's celebration worthy.
Yeah.
That, I think that the enemy tries to take those little wins from us to keep us discouraged, and we should not allow that anymore. Yeah. Another one is to pray and seek guidance. Encourage yourself to seek God's direction, but then also wisdom with that challenge. And I think you do that really well. Like, you love to research anything and everything.
I do. I'm a researcher. I really am.
Meanwhile, I am like, oh, that looks good.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. God's got my back. That's kind of,
he has both of our backs, researcher and a non-researcher.
To an extent.
Yeah.
But I think you do that really well, where you are, not only are you, and a pastor says that all the time, faith does not come with lack of wisdom.
Right.
Right? Is that how he says it? Or something along those lines? And I think that's...
Faith does not replace wisdom.
Faith does not replace wisdom. And I think that is so important, especially me growing up Pentecostal. I know so many people that would hear of the diagnosis of diabetes and just be like, nope, that doesn't exist. And completely ignore the doctors.
Eat the sugar, eat whatever.
You're losing toes, your foot is coming off, next is the whole leg, and you still want to deny diabetes. Like, I'm not telling you to live with, overwhelm yourself with it. That's not what I'm saying. But it cannot replace wisdom.
Nope.
Number 3 is surround yourself with support. Find a community and a group that encourages you and holds you accountable in your journey.
And that's really important, especially when you're believing for something, like in healing. If I'm believing for something, I'm believing for my body to conform to the Word of God, to completely be healed and restored. I need to share that with people who will believe with me.
Yeah.
Not someone that says, well, that's not possible. Yeah. My doctor's the one that says that.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You know what I do? I turn them off. Yeah. I'm like, I don't accept those words. I don't say that to them because I need them to be my doctor.
Yeah.
But I do what they say to do.
Yeah.
I still do that. I make sure that I do what they say to do, but I don't swallow the pill that says I will never be cured.
Yeah.
I'm not going to cut God off. I'm going to leave him completely available and I'm going to do everything I can do to follow. But yeah, you want to surround yourself with people who are agreeing with you and believing for you and not denying reality. I still think, one of your points was that. I still think we need to make sure that we don't deny reality. I'm not sitting there walking around saying I'm not diabetic.
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm being healed from via diabetes.
Right. And I just want to piggyback off of that. I'm a nurse. I'm a nurse in the ICU. So I see people at their worst. And rarely do we see some really good things happen. But your story or what you're saying now with, listening to the doctors and valuing their input and being respectful and mindful, but then keeping some things and throwing away others. Mm-hmm. I remember we had this young kid come in. He was in his 20s. And he had come in with carbon monoxide.
Oh, poisoning?
Poisoning. Uh-huh. Maybe that's not the chemical. So he was in his car.
That's carbon.
Okay. Yeah. So carbon monoxide. So something had happened where, I don't want to go into details, but he came in with carbon monoxide poisoning. He was exposed to it to the point where he was in a coma. The kid was in a coma, intubated. Multiple doctors told this woman, your son is brain dead, and or if he does wake up, the quality of life that he is going to have is not going to be good. Mm-hmm. And I have encountered and seen a lot of people take this type of news, which is terrible news. To hear that and your son's only 21 is terrible news. This woman took that news with such grace. And she would thank every single doctor that walked into the room, and she would say, thank you very much for taking care of my son. Thank you very much for your input. I really appreciate it. And she would always end it with, but I believe in miracles. And every morning, I remember every morning that I would get assigned her room, you would walk into the room and that woman was kneeling in the corner of the room praying on the ground. And she's Catholic religion, so like they just, you and I would maybe have put like a pillow or something underneath our knees, like she was just
full on
bare knees on the ground, like crawling around there, saying her Hail Marys. She had her rosary in her hand. But that's something that I will never, ever, ever forget, was just she would look at you and she would be so grateful and so thankful, not angry, not bitter, not arguing with people, trying to prove that her God was stronger. She was just with the most confidence ever. She would say, thank you so much for taking care of my son. Thank you for showing me the results. I really appreciate it, but I believe in miracles. That's how she would end it. Mm-hmm. I kid you not, I think the beginning of this year, didn't that woman walk into the unit with her son?
Did she really?
Yes, she did.
Wow.
And you saw this 21-year-old boy who was told multiple times that he would be brain dead or disabled dramatically for life walk into the unit, and she was parading her son around like, look at what God did. Aww. And I was like,
yeah,
oh my God. Yeah. We don't get to see stuff like that. Like, I don't get to see stuff like that. So witnessing that was like, you are so awesome, God. Mm-hmm. Like, that is so awesome. Mm-hmm. We can do hard things, but God does the impossible things. And it's so important to remember what Karen was saying. It's not ignoring wisdom. We're not going to deny that we need to be wise about how we're doing things. We need to be thankful and grateful and listen to what the doctors are saying, be compliant. But it's also not where you just throw faith out the window and just be like, oh, darn it. There's a sweet balance on how you do this. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing is keep a faith journal. Document your experiences, your prayers, how God acts in your life, and it can serve as a source of encouragement. And I do this with my fitness journey, and I don't know why I haven't done it with my God journey. But I can't tell you how good it feels to open up a photo of me 3 years ago and see how I've lost 70 pounds. And
I still can't remember that.
Yeah,
I just can't remember that.
It's not me anymore, so like you can't even picture it.
No.
But sometimes I get discouraged because I see the scale, or I get discouraged because I compare myself to someone else, and I'm like, oh, my body's not ever going to look like that, and I start to try to beat myself up, and then I remember practice what you preach, and I pulled up this photo of me, and I was so big that I was like, wow, I can do it. I have done it. I can do it again. I'm disciplined enough. I have self-control. Like, it's harder now because I'm not as heavy and I don't have as much weight to lose, and it's easier when you're that heavy. I know it's hard for me to say that. Hard to believe it, but it is. But it's so nice to look back and just be like, no, I can do it. I can. Yeah. And there's some faith things, which I'm sure for you, like a Rolodex of things where like doubt tries to come in, or like unbelief, and you just go to it and you're like, no, because he's done it before.
Yep. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of history. Developing your relationship with Jesus, it creates a lot of history that you can use that Rolodex. And, well, I'm using Rolodex. I'm a little older. Use that Rolodex to go back and find that instance where God was right there, and it encourages you for this next thing.
Yeah.
Whatever this next thing is.
And it's so important to do that. So those are the 4 practical things that we think are going to allow you to do the hard things while also still believe God to do the impossible things. And just know that just because this door is a little harder to push doesn't mean that it's locked.
That's right.
It doesn't mean that it's not meant to be open.
That's right.
It just means you have to push a little harder, you know? Yeah. So we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter where we will share all of these practical suggestions as well as our key verses for this episode. Follow us on TikTok, on Instagram. Check us out on, well, you should be on Spotify, but I'm going to try to get us up on YouTube this week. So we'll also be on YouTube.
Yay.
I said it, so now I got to do it. But yes, I'm happy we had you guys here for another episode. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.